those are amazing. So we're observing consciousness, and today we're back with Dana to do a little interview specifically about her modalities, what she brings to the table, what she's offering. And we brought Alethea, one of her best friends, to help with the interview process, just to pull some more memories out and elicit things that I may not know about her. And before we jump into the interview side of things, we want to pull a tarot card, and I think Alethea is going to do the honors.
We're pulling from the Crow Tarot.
The Crow Tarot, brand new deck that I actually got for my birthday, and I have not messed with it. I don't know very much about tarot. I actually want to.
And I asked Alethea if she would please pull us a card for today from this brand new Crow Tarot deck that DJ just got. So.
We got the Ace of Wands.
Woo! I'm gonna say we're off to a really good start. How's that feel, DJ? Ace of Wands.
I love it. Tell us.
It feels abundant to me. Like you have the magic wand.
Yeah, well, it's talking about fresh new starts, which is, kind of what everybody's feeling right now. It's what we're doing right here.
Yes.
Blooming spring flowers, floating through the air are white feathers, bringing the message that the Ace of Wands represents a new beginning that's divinely guided.
Divinely guided.
I'm going to say that was the perfect card for today that we just pulled, as was the card we pulled for the first episode, which was also New Beginning.
That was
awesome.
So,
and the second time we pulled another card, we have another New Beginning, fresh start, one energy, which is perfect because we were all really tuning into those 11s yesterday and those one energies.
It really makes me realize that this podcast is not my idea at all.
No, you got nothing to do with it.
The message was to do a podcast. I had no idea what to do the podcast about, so I buy the equipment, and I mentioned this before. I buy the equipment and put it away for a few years, and now we're doing it. And this card is divinely. What did it say?
Divinely guided.
Guided. That's beautiful. So.
Wow.
Dana, tell us a little bit about what life was like before you got into healing and where you're at now.
Okay, so life before that, of course, was so many things.
Lives before that.
The lives upon lives
many
upon lives upon lives. But to cut to, I was more focused on singing and dancing and acting. When I was really little, I always wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to act. I wanted to dance. Loved dancing. Loved that whole world. So that was like my world forever. And
Dana was like a total rock star. Is a total rock star. I'm sorry, that's not over.
Oh, it's never. It's like you come in as this soul with so many gifts. I feel like you worked on in the past, and like we talk about many lives and karma. Like we all believe in that. Maybe some of you all believe in that too. I'm sure if you're listening, you probably do. But you just come in with so much. It's almost like you're just filled with this creativity. So I was filled with this creativity of singing and dancing and whatnot. And then, so I was a showgirl for a while when I was 18. Like my whole goal was to be a Las Vegas showgirl. I basically grew up here. We moved around when I was little for a while. We came back and I was so happy to come back here because I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was like, oh great, we're back in Vegas. Now I can be a showgirl just like I always wanted. And I sucked. I failed miserably at my first audition. It was like the worst thing ever, and I like froze. Like this thing would happen to me my whole life with my creativity and my dancing and whatnot, like especially dancing, where I would just freeze. Like it was weird. It was like I would check out. Like I would just go somewhere. I would like disassociate, I think. And I also think though part of me was still on the other side a lot of the times. And I didn't know how to navigate between part of me being connected to my star family, part of me dissociating from this human experience that had already felt really traumatic to me during my childhood. And so that was always going on. So my first audition was horrible. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this. Like I worked my whole life to do this and I failed miserably. It was so messed up for me. But another audition came up and my mom helped me. She's like, like I had to learn to ice skate in one night to do this audition and get it. And she's like, you can do it. And we went and we bought ice skates. We tried ice skating and The first one I didn't do good at, but then the second time I tried again. I tried harder with this ice skating, and then they took me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can. And so that was like it was just like being able to start to realize a dream was such a big thing for me more than anything else. But at the same time, I was experimenting with drugs, and I also had this whole like shadow side that was so deep that probably the fulfillment and enjoyment of doing that was kind of, it was what it was. It was weird. But so anyway, so I did that for a while. It was a show where I was in City Lights, I was in Jubilee at Bally's, and I was in Splash at the Riviera. And
did you feel like once you got accepted into it, then like the doors were open and your performance side could come out because you knew that you could? Or did it take a while to like become really confident on stage and everything?
It was weird. It was like, I think the action of going through it made me feel confident. The action of putting myself out there and being really super afraid that I was gonna like not get the choreography or not be able to do the choreography or forget the choreography, which, would still only happen to me one time. But I was almost fighting against myself too.
Always.
Your own belief
Like
in
I
yourself.
was battling myself, and I had like a whole battle going on, and I was really young.
Yeah.
So it was like such a win, and at the same time it was this huge, weird internal battle. And at one point, I finally made my way to Splash, and it got so dark for me. I had to just go to God. And I said, God.
What was dark?
Just the internal battle and substance abuse and things like that I was experimenting with at that time, like looking for love in all the wrong place, right?
Well, they say like with creativity that rests like in your sacral chakra area, and that's like also involves like sex and things like that.
Yeah.
So when the doors are open for creativity, a lot of times there comes in like a lot of partying and a lot of crazy stuff.
Right.
Lots of shows are like that.
Right, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists that we get drawn into that, and a lot of people in general. A lot of it, I felt like a lot of it was somehow coping too. There was all sorts of going on.
And being in Vegas.
Yeah,
And fascinatingly, so we should probably fill some people in. Like, so Alethea is very involved in the arts and performing arts.
Yeah.
So you have a horse show. Fill people in a little bit about.
Yeah,
so how you
Gladius.
guys, yeah.
Gladius, the show, is my horse show. It's an acrobatic horse show. So we perform all over the country. I've been on tours with different shows. So I know how the acrobatic dancer, performer, musician life is.
Yeah, we're twin souls, so
Yeah.
we mirror. So that's for sure. But anyway, so then I moved to Los Angeles, focused on acting, focused on doing music, and then I had some bands, and we played all over the Sunset Strip, the Whiskey, the Roxy, the Viper Room, Rainbow, like just everywhere.
You were
Played
singing.
everywhere.
You were singing or dancing.
Singing. Yeah, I did some dancing in other places. I did some acting. I wasn't the greatest with acting. I loved acting. I had some great moments with it, but I just kept feeling music and singing, and that's like going back to being a little girl and just really, really loving to sing more than anything. And so that's what I was really busy focused on for many, many years, probably up till like 30, 31.
So at 30, 31, you changed gears. Now, when did healing come into your life? Is that when you changed gears from that, or was there some area where you were shifting gears and trying to figure out what you wanted to do?
Yes. Well, so like basically my dad and mom were healers, and
What kind of healing?
well, my father was a physician, and he was a psychic physician. So like people would end up coming to him that they would get no answers anywhere else, and they would find their way to him, and he would just know
Awesome.
with his knowledge and his intuition. And my mother was a nurse, but she just had like powerful self-healing abilities. Like she was like, oh, I have appendicitis. Oh, I'm gonna heal it with my mind and do whatever, and she did. Like, and I was like, wow, you know, I didn't recognize that though, being little. I didn't recognize that at all. But in my 20s, I really, you know, I started getting some massage as a dancer, and then I was always interested in metaphysical. I always had books. My grandmother was an astrologer, and my mom was into metaphysics. I was always going to the psychic eye, like, my whole life. Like, I couldn't go to the psychic eye enough. Like, you know, like, all that stuff. Like, I was always attracted to it. And then I started receiving a lot of healing work in my 20s. I dated this chiropractor who was a sound healer. He ended up inventing this amazing sound healing instrument. But anyway, he would play gongs for me, and we went to Too Much Palms. That's in Palm Springs. They have like epic healers out there, and I received like some amazing energy work out there. But there was a Reiki session I received from this woman. She was like a grandmother, and it was really my first experience with seeing actual energy, and she was lifting all this black off of me. I could just see all this stuff that had stuck to me, that I've been carrying around forever, not even realizing it. And it was just in me, in my aura, and I saw her pulling it out. And I was like in tears, and I was like, it just blew me wide open. She gave me some Watsu, she gave me some, I had been receiving all of these modalities, which I loved, but I was still focusing on music, to the point where I finally got to, again, the pinnacle, like with the dancing, like, oh, I finally got into a show. This is like realizing that dream. So I finally get to this place with that, where I'm about to be on this show called Rockstar in Excess in like 2005. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's that pinnacle moment again, like of seeing your dream coming into manifestation. And so that year, it really just kind of came into my lap. It fell into my lap, the whole thing. I mean, I had to work really hard at it. I had to, like, you know, serious vocal lessons, serious working out, like prepping, like taking it seriously, showing up as my best self. Like, I was like, I'm showing up as my best self for this, because I have been working on this basically for like 7-8 years, like focused on that. So I'm like, wow, you know, this is my opportunity, I'm thinking, right? Well, and it was an opportunity. But also that year, like, my dad passed away at the beginning of the year, and that was a huge thing, because I had seen it happen in a dream. Like, all this psychic stuff was also happening, and so I'm like, wow, like, I'm starting to see all these things. And then I had like a pretty big breakup with a boyfriend that I kind of thought I was going to marry, and he's this beautiful drummer, and you know, now he's super successful, and I'm happy for him. He's like, oh, but it was like it was a dark breakup. But and then I get this show, and then there's this stuff going on with that show that, you know, later on down the line I could talk about. But I basically ended up being the first one kicked off of the show, and I was like, my worst nightmare just happened. Like, what just happened? And it was like, it just tripped me out. There was definitely politics involved. I will say that, like with reality show stuff, there's always politics involved, and they drag your history out through, and they, you know, so there's a lot of stuff going on. That, not saying I wasn't like the best singer there by any means, but like there was so much politics involved.
Those shows are rigged.
There was so much. So here I find myself like, fucking first one kick, and I'm like, and at first I was like, no, I'm good with it, because they have this psychologist come out and talk to you to make sure that you're good. Like, and before you even go on the show, you have to take this whole psychological test, like a very intense test, to make sure that you can handle what goes on mentally. Right? It was very intense. So she comes up to me and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I had enough life skills at that point, and I had been in show business and, you know, X, Y, and Z. So I was like, no, this is the breaks. And, you know, nothing's going to stop me from doing whatever I'm meant to do. And I knew that. So I was like, no, I'm good. And she's like, okay. I'm like, okay. And I go home. And my friend was living with me, Christina, and she's like, dude, and I'm like, dude. and then the way they edit it made me look, it just kind of made me look it bad in one way, and I was so embarrassed. Like, they pit me against this other girl, and it just was so embarrassing that she hated me, and it was like, oh God, this couldn't have gone like worse, you know?
Not what you expected.
Yeah. And I was like, damn it, right? So then my whole world spirals down, and like, it was, but all this other stuff about myself too came up, like all these other ways that I was being in my world also came up for me, to where I was like, oh wow.
Reflection,
I don't,
like
yeah.
reflective things.
Yeah. I was like this, and I was able to cognitize and observe my consciousness at that time and go, wow, like, this is teaching me something. This experience is teaching me something. And I also had a dream right before that show, and that was the dream, like, happening. And I was like, so, this is a soul thing. Like, this is way more than, and I knew that. So, but even still, you got to go through it. Doesn't matter if you are watching it and going, I know what's happening. It's still happening.
Do you think that was like your higher self trying to prepare you for that in your dream?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
And that's been happening a lot more lately, by the way, like constantly. The more I meditate, the more we get together and we activate each other, the more it's happening. That kind of stuff, that like, but so I went into the dark night of the soul. Like, I went deep into it.
So this is when you're like 31 now.
This is when I'm 31, and I'm going into this like dark night of the soul, like hardcore. I didn't know that's what it was, but I felt internally like I was at rock bottom.
So this is like depression is what it feels like.
Yeah, like I couldn't even help it. It was so, and I was like, now I know why they bring the psychologist on. Yeah. Because in some way it is going to affect you, and they kind of know that. And so, but it's like, do you have the tools to help yourself through it, I think, is also what they want to know. And she could see that I did, and I ended up seeing her later at some point just to revisit with her, because I thought she was really cool and I respected her. So I was like, she could see that I had the tools, and she stayed connected to me the whole time through it, when we had MySpace. When we had MySpace.
Throwback Thursday.
What song was on your page?
Yeah, when we had good old fashioned MySpace. So I hit the rock bottom. There's nowhere to go but up.
She was a top 5 friend. Sorry.
No, yes. And I love laughing through it. So glad we can laugh through it, Oh my gosh, it's so important. And so, I hit that rock bottom where I was like, I just want to die. I went and visited my mom, and I was just laying in her front room thinking like this feels like you just want to die. And it was a soul death, though. And again, I had another dream, because then we go to my dad's funeral, and I had this crazy dream that, like, I was running through these hills of fire, and it felt like I died. And then I see my mom sitting on this bench, and I'm over to her, but I'm just in spirit. But I put my hands on her, and she knows that I'm there. And I'm like, how do you know? And she's like, the heat in your hands. It's the heat in your hands. And it was like so significant, but I wasn't thinking of doing anything like that at the time whatsoever. I was still in that rock star mode-ish and coming out and off. So I had that dream, like, and it scared me. I woke up like petrified I was gonna die. I was like, oh my God, Mom, I had this dream. I think I'm gonna die. And it's the night of my father's funeral at the same time. And I tuned into him and his soul, got buried with him, felt his demons. So it was like his demons became my demons, because he is my blood. His demons became, so now I'm carrying both of our demons. And I didn't know any of that, but I know it, but I saw it, and I kind of knew, but now I know. But so that, it was like soul death, and I knew the only way to go was through God. I just knew it. I just knew it, because I almost drowned when I was little, and No one was like knew I was in the pool, and I just remember starting to like hover over myself and talking to God about it. I was super calm and peaceful because I was just connected to spirit, to source, and I was like, okay, I'm good. So I knew I needed to connect to source, and I started reading a lot of Rumi. I had all these books, and I started going back to these books, and what was interesting is I had a lot of metaphysical books that I didn't really understand before, but I had them, and this time I was understanding them. I was like, whoa.
So what was it like having, like, you going back to your dad, you said your dad was psychic, so what was it like having somebody in the family that was psychic, and how often did you lean into that, and were you using that for part of this journey, or were you just kind of starting over fresh with the tools that you know you have inside of you versus leaning on somebody else to answer questions for you?
I didn't know that he was psychic. I didn't know if he even realized like the gifts that he had. I think he kind of knew, but
just a natural medical medium kind of person.
Exactly, but he like it was in the blood. But he had a lot of drug and alcohol problems because he had a very, very, very traumatic childhood growing up. So he had awful issues and drug and alcohol problems. So I didn't really see him a lot. I didn't really, like, I saw him a lot when I was real little, but then it started to, you know, I started to disconnect from him. I started because I saw the negativity, and so I purposely was like started to disassociate, disconnect from him in that way. I was like, whoa, you're not a safe space. So my mom was, though, luckily. So
he wasn't a tool for you to use or something for you to back up on while you were going through.
No, but you know what's interesting now is at one of the healing circles I was at recently with Summer, and she's like a teacher in the community, and she was leading this medicine circle. It was cacao, and we were. It was just a whole beautiful, all sorts of things were going on with this ceremony. And I was really struggling with something. I was kind of almost at a crisis point, kind of like the same intervention when you came in. And I was feeling kind of in this emotional crisis. And I was at this healing circle, and it was really, really powerful for me. And it was great because I trust her and I love her. So when she came in, it was just, she brought the joy in. She's like, none of it fucking matters. And I was like, thank you, perfect. Like, that's exactly what shifted me. But at the same time, something like I felt my dad coming through more and more, like, and I've been feeling him come through over the years, but I felt him come through so strong this time, like more than ever. And then we paired up with some other healers that were there, and we were doing this mirroring work. And I was like, I hope I get Michelle Citron. I hope I get Michelle Citron. She does a lot of sound healing in town. And I just, for some reason, something about it was like, I hope I get her. It turns out she has my dad's birthday. Right.
Synchronicities.
Yeah. So after that, I felt like my dad merged with me. I felt like the gifts, like that we share, I really felt him merge with me and start to work through me. And Summer also recognized that. She goes, do you think your dad? And so now I feel like we're working in spirit together when we weren't working in the physical plane together.
That's
right.
It was just time.
Right.
It was time for it.
It was time. Yeah. Bing. So amazing. Cut to, like, I'm going through that dark, and I'm like, wow. And I just floated for a while. I didn't know, you know, what I was supposed to do. I didn't know where I was going for a while. I was still trying to do music for a while. And, you know, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And I started thinking more and more about massage, but then I met my friend Godfrey, who's this amazing healer who Alethea knows, and we've done Qigong at the ranch with her horses, and it's just really fun, and so many amazing things. But I met him, and I had some set. He's like, oh, I'm a shamanic, you know, body worker practitioner. I'm like, sign me up. Yeah. Because I was already so familiar with all that. I was like, yeah, I need that. Yeah, thank you. And then it was just like everything blew open. I was like, oh, we can cut cords to all this stuff. Oh, we can, like, I was like, oh, yeah. It was just, he calls himself a reminder now. And it was like reminding you, but putting action to the cutting and the clearing, putting action and the body work. And then I was like, oh, I need to go to massage school. And then I go to, and I'm like, why wasn't I in massage school sooner? Why haven't I been doing this? Like, it was like, where has this been all my life? Well, it was the right time. And it was just like, and then everything just blew open. And you know how it goes. You keep taking classes, you keep expanding,
So
learning.
what modalities did you settle on? How many did you try, and what did you resonate the most with?
Well, yeah, so the massage and the body work was definitely the foundation for me. Like, putting my hands up, like the dream. It was like I needed to put my hands on people. And then, when you go to massage school, like you learn a lot of modalities. You like do cranial sacral, like you'll do some Thai. This one's the master Thai.
I like the Thai.
She likes the Thai. I like the Thai. And so you kind of go through all those modalities, and so you bring those tools, you start to put those tools into your toolbox. But so now I really lean on hands-on body work. I'm starting to lean more and more on the energy work side, and the doing guided journey with the whole thing, and bringing in bowls.
So you do massage, you do a guided journey with the massage and energy work all at the same time.
Yes, which is what I had learned from my original teacher, and I realized a lot of my teachers after that practice the same way. And
if somebody comes to you and they want to have all three of those things done at the same time, what's the best thing they can do for their energy? Because you're working with a lot of energy. Is there anything that somebody can do before they come see you to either cleanse themselves or get themselves in a state of mind that allows you to do more of your work without interference or without walls?
Right. I mean, you can always, what I always recommend for people is hopefully that they're stretching and they're starting to drop into their body to begin with, maybe a soak, a bath, you can always clear yourself with sage. There's so many ways to clear yourself. So it is always a good idea to maybe start in a space like that, clear yourself with water and salt or however you want to. But
on the other side of that too is like I've had people ask or say like, oh, I wanted to see you, but I was scared because I was like, my energy was too bad or I was in too much of a funk. And I'm like, but that's the best time to come. So I don't think people should ever be deterred. I've seen Dana when I've been like really down in the dumps or like going through some shit and like just needed that session, so it's like I say come as you are too.
Come as you are. Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people show up like dragging themselves in because they're just, I do that myself.
Yeah.
I'll show up dragging myself in.
We're probably the worst.
Right? Yeah.
I went out of massage for 4 months.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So are there any other points that you want to hit on from the story standpoint, life and stuff like that you want to share with us? That current life, stuff from...
I feel like lately things with you have just like accelerated into this whole other level of healing.
Yeah.
And it's like insane.
Yeah.
Watching you like come into what you're doing. I am getting goosebumps
Well,
now.
we should, I guess, because we've both had work by Dana, and I can say that her energy work is amazing. Like it was, for me, I feel like I had a full-blown psychedelic experience. Like I got to talk, I mean, I already can channel, so that's not something new, but the channel was so open and clear when I was working with Dana. It was as if I was on a psychedelic. It was so strong. And I mean, there's definitely levels to the connection of the energy and stuff like that. And when I worked with Dana, it was incredibly strong and it was moving. And I mean, I cried for probably a half hour of, the hour and 15 that she did, whatever it was. I cried for at least a third of it. And then I talked for another third to if not maybe even more than that, just where I was having open communication. And it was all interestingly about manifesting. And this massage was only, I want to say like a month and a half ago, something like that.
You didn't see that one coming.
And I did. It was so I'm not super into astrology. I don't understand astrology that deeply. I've got family that goes so far down that rabbit hole. I just haven't taken time to get back involved with them. But Alethea and Dana both are into astrology. And when I talked about when I had that moment of manifesting, Alethea started talking about Lionsgate and what else was retrograde was happening.
All the planets in the retrograde and the supermoon, just August in general, energetically and how powerful it is.
She's our astrology go-to.
So I get my lesson on manifesting and how all the thoughts matter about 6 weeks ago, and then I get into this, a few weeks later, Alethea and I are talking, and then she gets into to the retrograde, the planets, and Lionsgate, and I go, oh, that's why the manifesting. I got that message so strongly at that point in time. I should follow astrology a little closer.
Yeah. And I had a healing with Dana. The last healing that I had with Dana was not a massage. The one before that was an amazing massage around my horses, which was a whole other amazing thing.
People about the horse ranch, like.
But this massage was, this session was over the phone, over FaceTime, and Dana was like, I want to do a shamanic guided session with you to just work on this stuff that I'm working on. I want to practice. And so we did it over FaceTime, and you use the buffalo drum to start. Yeah, there was a little bit of drumming and then some guidance, and we went down into the underworld actually, and we met some people or some souls there, and it ended up being one in particular on my spirit team that was able to talk to me and confirm, one, that I had seen him here on Earth in an accident that I had, and he helped me in human form and disappeared, which I knew, but he confirmed that. And two, there was a message for me, because lately I've been having these really vivid visions before I go to sleep that's not a dream yet, but there are these people and faces that I don't know, and I'm talking to them, and I was like, who are these people? And he said, the work that you've been doing now makes us look like this to you. This is your direct communication to your soul team. So it's not whispers anymore. This is how our conversations are. And this was like a 30-minute session of her guiding me through that. So and obviously we talk all the time about what you're doing, and seeing what you're doing is just, and how it's helping people is really like exploding,
It's all copacetic amongst us all right now.
Yeah, if you're comfortable sharing it, you should tell people like what level of what you've done in your life to change it. And when you say the work that you put in and where you're at now in communication with your guides, like, if you want to share it.
Oh yeah, well, this year in particular, I've been going like light speed in different places. I just gutted my lifestyle. I stopped drinking alcohol. The year before that, I had gotten out of a stagnant relationship that was very sad to leave, but I needed to listen to myself, and I just started. My New Year's resolution this year was to start listening to the whispers of my soul before they become screams. And so I am making actions sooner to what will be best for my higher self. I'm not perfect, and I'm trying, but it's the levels that I've gone this year have made me feel really, really tuned in, and I have seen like very quick manifestations of things that I've been really wanting.
You've given up cigarettes, you've given up
All
alcohol,
the
you've
things,
cleaned out, your clean eating, healthy lifestyle, huge changes from. I've only known you for going on 2 years. And immediately knew you were one of my sisters, one of my soul tribe. But the change from when I met you just 2 years ago to where we're at now right now is just night and day. It's a dramatic change, and you put in a lot of work. So getting to be able to talk with your guides and see your guides in the way that you do, gives me chills. It's pretty
funny
awesome.
too, because the massage I gave her before that, we saw that spirit guide around her. And then when she went into the journey, she said, oh yeah, there he is. And we were like, there he was. It was double confirmation. Double confirmation. And it really feels like Source is coming through with the work anymore. It just really feels like, it is Source work. And, we you're talking about how should people show up, we'll have clients like that, they go through these experiences. Maybe it's like a rebirthing experience where like their hands start clenching and they're contracting all over, and they're going through this huge psychosomatic shift, and so they don't even know that they're gonna spontaneously go through that, and we don't know either when that might happen for them. We don't know what's gonna come up in a session. So that's what keeps it really real, because you just have to trust that you're there for a reason, and that God wouldn't give you anything you can't handle.
Right.
And so that's like how the work kind of just became to go. Sometimes it is just a regular body work session, but we always hope that it's all these other things as well.
Is there a way that you were able to like get out of your own way as a practitioner and be more of a direct get into like channeling messages for them or directly like giving to them what they needed, did you have to work with getting out of your way on that as a healer, or how did you just start doing that or get better at it?
Yeah, I think that I definitely had to know that I needed to be out of my way and always stay humble about it and always ask, like the prayer I was taught like at the very beginning of starting body work is calling on your guides and their guides, calling on our angels, calling on our guides, calling on our helpers, calling on source, God, whatever that is, calling on that at the very beginning to come in and bring us through the session. So that helps me to get out of the way because I know, I'm still there, like, participating very much, but I would say that.
The next thing I want to bring up is one of my favorite things that we're going to start talking about is rabbit holes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I want to know what rabbit holes we're going down.
Right.
And so
There's
Dana,
no
since
lack of
this is all about
here.
you, let's go down. Maybe
The white
let's
rabbit
just
hole.
go.
The Dana episode is the white rabbit, of course.
Let's go down. Give us a couple of rabbit holes that you're going down right now, or a couple of rabbit holes you've been down that are fun.
Good question. I like that. I like that question, DJ. That's going to be a fun. What rabbit holes am I going? I've been going down the shamanic journey rabbit hole lately. I took a really great, I call it course. She likes to call it medicine circle. And with Summer Lee Plotnick, and hopefully we can bring her on the show too.
So you're doing shamanic, you're learning to actually to guide people on shamanic journey, which did right? But you're going through learning to do the guided.
Yeah, and like I already was kind of doing it before because
I feel like you've always done that.
Right, exactly. Like my like the first teacher who taught me that, Godfrey, like he does it, so then I would bring it in too, right? So it does feel like I've always been doing it, and this is just doing it in a different way. So like you said the last episode, like we're always learning from each other. So so there's certain people I gravitate toward, and I'm like, ooh, what can I learn from them? Ooh, what can I learn from them? Because I respect them and their work, so then I want to see, like, get into that juice.
What do you see coming out of
Get into your juices.
I want to get in your juices.
I want to get into those juices.
So, how do you see shamanic journey and guiding? How do you see that helping people?
I see it helping people switch over their mindset, like being able to like stay in your conscious mind, but being able to understand that you can switch your conscious mind over into maybe like a more theta state like we were talking about, or just being able to access different parts of your mind and your awareness, so that because when they're laying on a massage table and they're thinking over and over again about all their bullshit, and you can see them thinking on your table, and that's why we always like to have them breathe a lot. So like breath work comes a lot into the practice, and breathing is so important. So we're trying to get them out of that like repetitive mind, repetitive mental pattern, or just wherever they're at now that they're coming to help. It helps them to shift. It helps them to shift into a different state of consciousness that might be more of a higher vibration for them, and being able for them also to access their higher self and their intuition, helping them access all that makes their healing that much more powerful and creative, and they see that it's all in their hands now. So
is this awakening the third eye at all, or does this focus on that at all, or how does...
I would definitely say that pineal gland, that third eye process is connecting to this process. I would have to study that and look it up to like look at people meditating and how it affects the pineal. I know there's tons of research on it, but I'm going to say that's definitely involved for sure. Yeah.
Well, shamanic journey sounds like something like that, but what you were describing it sounded a little, I was going, well, where's the shamanic part of this? Because, consciousness, sense of self, things like that. That didn't sound so shamanic to me, but I was just curious kind of to understand more of it.
So shamanic, in this way, it's a certain tradition, a certain way that they like to journey. And this is just the way that they do it. And so they'll take you on a journey to the underworld, or you'll go on a journey to the upper world. The middle world, according to a certain shamanic viewpoint is the middle world is us living here in this world. And you don't want to journey in the middle world because there's tricksters and there's trixies and, you know, probably some entities you really don't want to mess around with so much. And so you want to kind of go into a lower world. You'll see benevolent helpers, spirit animals, things like that, to gain answers for yourself. So the shaman or the leader, the guide is usually using a drum, and they do 220 beats per minute. And so that also...
Which is fast.
It is
kind of
actually.
like makes your body check out, or your mind. Is that what the...
I think so,
lets
yeah.
you get into more of like a trance
Yes,
situation.
exactly. It puts it starts to put your mind into that. Yeah, that would be that frequency and everything. Yeah. So you're kind of given a set of guidelines before you go in to the journey, either to the upper world or lower world, and you go on the journey all on your own. It's not guided. So like before it was usually more of a guided journey. This type of journey is more you're just letting them go and visualize on their journey, and then you tell them there's going to be a call back on the drum. It's going to be 3 beats, 3 beats, 3 beats, and then a chaotic rapid beat. And they know to bring their soul back into their body. And usually we've seen people come back with really beautiful answers for themselves. And like her experience, she talked to her guides and got a lot of answers. And so that's what makes it a shamanic journey, as far as I know right now. I'm just, that particular type of journey I'm just getting into, really. Yeah, but it's pretty, it's blown me open in that my psyche and my psychic abilities have gotten a lot stronger since
definitely.
Going on these journeys.
Yeah, I see that.
Right?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Just the dreams, you know, it's like fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. We're definitely living multi-dimensionally right now, aren't we? It's like, it's
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
So-
all talking about it all the time, by the way. Like, we'll all talk for hours upon hours upon hours about this, which is also why we're doing this podcast, is because we can talk for 6 hours straight about all of this.
We don't small talk or bullshit.
Can we just go deep? So, Alethea, what rabbit holes are you going down right now?
Oh man, well I've been a lot of it is really like direct communication to spirit, you know, sitting in that and like finding my answers quicker, receiving the downloads and saying them when I need to say them, you know, not holding myself back for fear of judgment or what people would think or overstepping, you know. Feel like it's just like this constant like streamlining of soul to body that I'm in, which feels quicker, and it's been rad. And I've been going down a yoga rabbit hole. I started yoga teacher training, and I feel like that's just something that is like Dana with massage school. You know, it's like something I probably should have always been doing, and it goes with my Thai massage and everything, and it's gonna help me to stay on the track I want to stay on with my body and my mind. But yeah, I think the biggest one is just trying to live more of my authentic self and trying to help people live theirs.
Yeah, that's
You know?
a good rabbit hole to go down. I spent a lot of time in that one myself.
Yeah. Or aliens, that's the rabbit hole. My husband's going down that rabbit hole.
Dude, the aliens are... No, I wasn't going to bring up aliens yet, but yeah. We're gonna bring up aliens.
You can have me in on the show.
Oh, dude, the alien thing is so interesting that everybody has come out. That now we're admitting, like at the government level, that there's aliens and we've been visited, and then it makes people like. First of all, there was I don't know how many people. I had at least 4 or 5 people say. Nobody cared. Nobody even made a big deal of it.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it was
memes
like, well, that, and I said that to somebody else. I was like, yeah, nobody cared. And they're like, we all already knew.
Yeah.
Like, of course there's aliens. Like, no,
That's what I
think
said. I
all
was
of us
like,
already
this
kind of
is
had a feeling it was happening. Like, everybody knows somebody that's got a UFO story. So it was like, I just looked at it and went, okay, so now that the government's admitted it, it's like, wait, what are they? They're covering something up. Now it's like, wait, they can't just be coming out and telling us the truth. It's got to be something.
And then there's that rabbit hole.
And then there's that rabbit hole.
Wait a minute, what are you distracting us from, huh? It didn't really work, did it?
That's the aliens one. I can't like. When I was a kid, I saw something in the sky. It was like it looked like a boomerang is the best I can describe it. But it was so far out in the sky. It was like it was just a little bit bigger than what the stars looked like. It was like maybe 5 stars wide. And I saw this little thing, and I told my dad, I was like, oh my gosh, I saw something. He looked at me, he's like, no, you didn't. I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, I didn't. I'm like, no, I did. I definitely did. I saw something. I never had any. That's the only kind of run-in I've ever had anything like that. And I was like, I saw something tiny. And maybe it wasn't
No, you
nothing.
didn't.
Maybe I didn't see anything. Like, I don't have any. I have no experience with like a UFO or
Yeah.
extraterrestrial that I've ever. So I don't have. But I assume they're out there. I mean,
yeah.
The universe is too big. I think I remember listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking, and he was talking about the size of the universe and how many planets that we thought there's only 9 planets, and now he's like, we can see suns everywhere, and behind the suns are planets, and he's like, there's millions and millions, if not billions and billions of planets. And it's like, there's got to be other life out there. So when they came out and said it, I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting
I
us
mean,
know.
think about our beliefs, about our spirituality and religion. We're crazy. We think
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of weird shit.
Yeah, we told them what
Of
we
course,
were
aliens.
thinking. We told them what we were covering up from them.
Yeah, I know.
This is what we think we know that we're not telling you. Actually, we're going to tell you guys.
That's what it's about.
But
This is what
actually,
that
we
we're
will.
gonna tell you. So
Actually, we will tell you.
rabbit holes besides aliens for me is I read the book called Theta Healing recently that really got my mind like kicking. I was like, what is possible here? And Theta Healing is this idea that you can go into a theta state, which is a brainwave state. You got alpha, gamma, beta, theta, and there's one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyways, if you get into this theta state, your brainwaves in this theta state, which is 4 to 7 hertz per minute, I believe, that your brain is like rotating at or oscillating at. If you can get into this state and you can do manifesting at this state, you can do healing on other people at this state that are locked in with you and in the theta state as well, is what this book claims. And I'm fascinated by it because I have been doing a lot of meditation lately. That's my other rabbit hole, is meditation with sound bowls or with singing bowls. Listening to the didgeridoo with shamanic drumming that's running at like 5 beats. It's real slow, so it's all designed to slow the brain waves. And I find myself, I get into these deep meditative states. I've been meditating from anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half at a whack. And when I get into these states, I think that and I wish I had the headgear to tell if you're in that theta state what the brain waves were actually at. But I get right into that almost dream state, and I catch myself, and I'm trying to train my brain to not be so surprised when I get there and when I come out of it, to just be calm and then take it in, because I can see some of the visions that I take in are just sometimes it's usually for the most part when I see stuff in my closed eye like visual, it's mostly like darks, purples, and I can see shapes being formed out of the purples, but then I get into this space where all of a sudden it just becomes like perfectly clear, like
when you're in that space, are you getting like downloading feelings or knowings? Because I get that, like, or are you getting like anything audio, or are you?
My focus has been in the theta, to get into the theta state and then manifesting. So I've been, I went on, like I said,
sitting in a feeling kind of thing.
Yeah, where I'm actually, rather than sitting in a feeling, I get to that space when I realize that, okay, I've kind of gotten that wake up where I was like, okay, kind of faded there for a second. When I get there, I start thinking of everything I want, and I start saying it to myself as if I've already got it. So I'm like, these are new things that I've ever since Dana massaged me, that the manifesting thing came up. So for these last 6 weeks or so, I've been going deep down that rabbit hole, trying to understand what do I control, how much I can control. And I think it's, I knew I had a certain amount of control, but I think there's way more control than I realized.
Yeah.
And I think that the manifesting, it's like the message that I got when I was sitting on the table with Dana was that every thought matters, and that if I were to look at 75% of my thoughts, it's got me exactly where I'm at right now. And I looked at them and I was like, oh shit.
That ain't lying.
That's what I said too. I was like, dude, if I go back and look at my thought processes, I'm like, I am right where I put myself. And so now I'm trying to, I want to
Observing consciousness.
Yeah, I want to observe myself, creating and manifesting a new reality, something that's even cooler than this one. And this one's pretty fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the cooler existences I've been.
That's what I say I said it since I was young, man. I think this is my favorite life.
Yeah,
Wow.
This is the one. This is my favorite one I can remember. I'll tell you that. Yeah. So,
wow.
All right. Well, we've been at this. I don't even know how long, but that was
either.
a few minutes, and we're gonna do Alethea next. So.
Yeah, we could keep doing it forever. But so should we gong out?
Yeah, let's do a
closing
little
this
singing
out.
With the dogs out.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you for listening. You can find us at observingconsciousness.com. Thank you for being with us. Light and love to everybody. Keep following us. We're going to talk about all sorts of